Mebba's a tiny little place. It was funny growing up there because everybody knew each other. Um, so I couldn't do anything on this side of town without this side of town knowing about it 2 minutes later. Because being, and not just being a small town atmosphere, but being a runner in a small town atmosphere where running is not like really, it's not frowned upon, but it's just like, why are you running? And it's like, I mean, everybody with the accent is like, man, you got that runner kid down there. He's crazy, running in them little shorts all the time. So like, growing up in Mebane it was a lot of fun. You knew everybody. I learned how to create a huge friend base from the get-go. I don't keep in touch with a lot of them now, but it's because we all really kind of moved on. Small town, didn't want to get too sucked in, but I like growing up there, and I think growing up there was a huge reason as to why I became a runner.
While growing up in Mebane, Michael Tamayo spent a lot of time playing outdoors and playing video games. But before he found his way onto the cross-country trails, he had his heart set on a completely different sport.
We lived in the nice part of Mebane, and growing up there, I was way more of an outdoor person than indoors. Don't get me wrong, I love me my video games. I'd play video games for hours on hours if I could. I started cross-country by being tricked. I wanted to be a basketball player. I'm 6'1", I wouldn't have gone Division I in any case in basketball, but I wanted to be one. I was watching all NCAA, all NBA. I love Michael Jordan, who doesn't? But then my mom decided one day, because my whole mom's side of the family is all runners, and she was like, you seem to have the running blood capability, but she didn't tell me that, but she knew it. And she was like, you know what you should do? If you want to be on the basketball team, which I think you totally should, you should go get in shape in cross country. And then when you're done with cross country, you go to the basketball team. I was like, yeah, that's a really good idea. So I went to cross country practice first day. It was really hard. I don't think I got more than a mile and a half in before I wanted to quit. But it's because of the atmosphere, the teammates, the coaches that I had there, and finally feeling like I'm getting involved that really made me want to stick with cross.
After getting a taste of what running long distance was like, Michael Tamayo eased off on basketball and kept his running shoes on. And slowly but surely, he kept getting faster and faster.
And what really made me want to pursue college was my junior year when we won our first state championship in the 4x8, and then we won it outdoors. And then I won, after the three guys graduated, I helped win that again my senior year, and then I won the 800 outdoors in the state meet my senior year as well. And then I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to be going somewhere with this. I can't not at this point because of how successful my teammates made me in high school, showing that I was able to compete with the big boys. I found Charlotte mainly because my sister came here originally. She's like, oh, it's great, you'd love it. And I was like, no, I don't want to just be a follower of my family members. I met with the coach, who was Coach Mackenzie Wartenberger at the time. Now she coaches the University of Utah, and she was phenomenal. I had a visit later on with the team, met some of the guys, loved it, loved the facilities here. It's absolutely beautiful. And another thing is, since I love basketball so much, I really wanted a nice basketball arena. I saw the basketball arena, I fell in love, and I wanted to come here. And that's kind of really how the whole coming to Charlotte started off.
Having fallen in love with the basketball arena and the rest of campus, it wouldn't be long before he signed on as a Charlotte 49er. But he would soon realize that the transition in the sport would not come that easy.
The difference in college was every meet that I went to, there was a state champion from high school, or there was an All-American in NCAA everywhere. So you're always competing against someone else. You always have to be prepared. Race day is not just one of those days where you're like, yeah, I'm going to jog a couple laps and win like it was in high school. And even on a training standpoint, my very first cross-country practice in college was 3 by the 5K, and I'm used to 3 by the mile being a whole practice in high school. So it was a completely different level on a training standpoint, on a mental standpoint. And coming out of high school, I'd say I was a little bit big-headed. I thought I was like the man.
Despite his struggle and frustration with competition and lack of improvement, Michael would soon be faced with a new cross-country head coach and his style of coaching.
Well, transitions are always the same, and they're always difficult. It didn't matter whether I was coming to Charlotte with relatively little tradition in cross-country and track, or Michigan and William & Mary with significant distance traditions in cross-country and track. It's always a difficult period as you have one group getting used to a different person, a different approach.
All the coaches that I've had here have been fantastic, especially like Mackenzie Wartenberger, Ed Schlichter. And then when Gibby came in, Gibby gave this whole team a new outlook on running. It wasn't just, okay, let's get out there and do the work. It was, okay, let's get out there and get involved.
The transition into Coach Gibby brought some other elements in, as you mentioned, with the championship style of thinking. That starts from day one of training. Gibby is very knowledgeable. I mean, he's been around the block for several years, and he's accomplished a lot.
It was, you can do the work, you can go through the motions, but if you're not physically and mentally involved and like tuned in, you're not going to get anywhere. And my old coaches absolutely insisted the same thing, but it's almost like growing up freshman, sophomore year, I didn't really care. It was like, whatever, like it'll happen, kind of like it did in high school for me. It just happened. Everything just got better.
I would probably say after the first month with him, while it was still formulating an opinion, with the group in general, I mean, we just were not used to being consistent in anything. The work rates required to be successful for Division I middle distance and distance running were not there.
Especially when Gibby came in, he showed that it doesn't just happen unless you force yourself to get involved and you make yourself want to be better. So on that level, it was frustrating at first when my times weren't dropping. It was really frustrating when I'm running out there on a course when I've been mostly a track guy my entire life, and then running on cross-country course, there's hills, there's grass, there's rocks, there's all this stuff. So it's really frustrating. I'm like, I don't even know why I do this.
He was one of the few guys with what I would say had legitimate Division I credentials. I mean, he'd run 151 as a junior. That's a step away from making the NCAA regional. It's a pretty good mark, and certainly a mark that was very competitive at Conference USA. So from an athletic perspective, you could recognize he had success in the middle distances. What I did not anticipate was his growth in the distances.
Without a doubt, head coach Alex Givey brought a different style of coaching that would show significant improvement in everyone's running.
Last year when he came in, and a lot of years beforehand, I'm a track guy. I'm an 800-meter guy. I can't do long distance. I can't do it. Never been my thing. I have speed. I don't have endurance. Last year, Gibby started off with his molding of this whole new group of people that he's never had to coach before, and he had to show them that although they didn't believe it, that they could do it. Last year was a lot more difficult, but I have a very competitive edge on myself, a little bit of a chip on my shoulder when it comes to wanting to be better.
Mike has made tremendous progress. I thought he was I would call him one of our real surprises this fall, but I don't think it was much of a surprise. He somewhere last January or February, he started to shift who he was. Started to invest at a far greater level. The attention to the details, particularly over the summer and into the fall, are just significantly different. I mean, you talk about my time here in the last 18 months. I mean, he's grown as much as any athlete we've had. And he was certainly rewarded for it in cross country, being our top guy in all conference. But, we'd like to see him rewarded on the track at a similar, if not higher level.
Last year, my chip was, I need to be better for track. I need to be better for my 800. I need to be better for my 15. I need to be stronger. And then last year I showed myself on a different level under Gibby that I can do it. Like I was top 5 to top 7 most of the year. And I was like, I can actually do this if I just apply myself. And that was the thing about cross last year. It was a little frustrating finishing where we finished in the conference, especially after the team morale significantly increased from the year before. But this year was a huge difference because in my meeting with Gibby at the end of the season, he asked me what I thought was different. And I said the entire team chemistry was way better. We are actually working as a team. In prior years, it was very much, I want to beat that guy on my team, or I want to beat that guy on my team. I just want to be the best. I don't care what the other teams in the conference, I just want to be the best here. And Gibby showed all of us that it's more than about being the best at your school. It's about being your best in your conference. It's about being the best in the region, being the best in the nation.
My job was to educate primarily. It was to show them that there was a world outside of what they were doing, that if they were willing to invest in the detail work in practice and the detail work outside of practice, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, or 49 weeks a year, certainly that they are very capable as individuals, both physically and mentally, of competing at that level. And then from a team perspective, it was just pulling a bunch of sort of disparate guys coming from a whole different set of backgrounds, whole different developmental experiences in the past, and trying to get them to function as a unit. And that part was actually relatively easy. I mean, that's the one thing I liked about Charlotte walking in the doors. It was a close-knit unit. I mean, they may not work together in practice all the time, but they lived together. I think they understood where each other was coming from, and they were, I think it's a very tolerant unit, that's for sure.
But I think this year was, like if last year was a step, this year was a leap. It was a bound to showing what Charlotte cross country could really be about.
I think like with any program, you just want to reach the highest level that you can. So Gibby's been there before. He knows what it takes. So, and as us as a program who's starting out, looking to progress as the years move forward, what better person to lead us through that than Coach Gibby? And it's been an honor for the older guys like ourselves to hopefully be the start of that tradition.
When I got here, Zach is always much more the analytical personality. I know with Zach that if I assign X mileage at X pace, it's going to be done.
At practice, since he's more the mid-distance type and I'm more the longer distance type, those two in some ways complement each other really well, because if we're doing a mid-distance oriented workout, he'll be happy sharing most of the workload, whereas if it's the opposite, I might be in the position to do that.
With Mike, when I got here, if I assigned X mileage at X pace, I could expect 60% of it was done well, 20% of it was probably okay, and then 20% of it was probably not done or missed occasionally. And so, it's really been interesting. And, whereas when you get in competition, Zach is a lot more analytical, and that tends to work against him at times, whereas Mike is less of a thinker, and I don't mean that in a negative way. He tends to be a little more instinctual in his racing, and that's why I think he's really done much better in the middle distances, because he wants to go, 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 go.
I've never had people so close to me that go through the same thing that I do on a daily basis. When you're out there on the course or on the track, and all of you understand how much it hurts, but you all have a mutual respect for each other, and when the mutual respect starts on the track, it leaves the track as well.
And he slowly but surely worked himself through a hard summer. Was very rewarded this fall, and I think he's got he's got a little bit of the bug now. He's been rewarded for his investment, and he wants a little bit more. And that part's exciting for me.
Although the improvements came toward the end of Michael's collegiate career, so would his time under Gibby's coaching wings and with the rest of his teammates.
It's hard to explain, but given the friendship that we just have this certain style of talking and joking with each other that's unique, that I don't share with anyone else.
The thing with Mike is that he's grown more in his time probably than any other aspect or any other person in our program. Really, it's for being sort of a goofy guy that was somewhat unfocused. Again, the bug has bit him, and he's gotten greedy in a good way. And it's reflected in the thoroughness in which he conducts himself, and that will be very much missed.
I would love to include the running aspect of life and coaching and showing people that they can be better, and I would really love, obviously way in the future when I have a family, I'd love to get my son involved in something like this, or my daughter, or whoever, whatever. Just kind of keep it rolling, keep it going, because when you start a portion of your life for 10 years, like I said, it doesn't just leave. So that's what I would really like to do. I'd like to keep running going, no matter, I'll be 95 years old, I'll probably still want to be involved in running, whether it be coaching or running myself.
On another note, Michael Tamayo had one last thing to say.
In high school, we had these shirts on our team that the back of it said, "My sport is your sport's punishment." So when people say, "Oh my God, you run?" I'm like, yeah, I'm tougher than you. I'm a whole lot tougher than you. Because I can run, I can go. It's like, people look at why do you run? Why don't you and I've also got, why don't you play a real sport?